Serious, nosy parents of Reddit, what's the most messed up thing you discovered snooping through your kid's bedroom? When my son was 6 years old, I went into his room and found a live pigeon that he had been keeping as a pet. He was really sad when I let it outside. That rules. When my son was 3, I found an old banana peel in a clipboard that opened. We were battling a fruit fly infestation and couldn't figure out what they were after. It was so disgusting when I opened that thing and hundreds of fruit flies flew out. My brother left a banana and a container of food in his backpack all summer. He finally cleaned it out and it was crawling with maggots, and something else flew out that he was never able to find. It was horrifying. My daughter went through a phase when she was around 6-8 where she only ever put dirty tissues under her bed. I would regularly be on hands and knees sweeping boxes worth of tissues out from under there while going, "Why are you doing this? We have a bin." Thankfully she's past that. Sounds like me when I'm sick. Trash can is too far. The floor is good enough. My parents actually found beer cans under my brother's pillow. His defense: he'd found the discarded can in the yard and picked it up planning on throwing it away. He maintains that as truth, even 18 years later. Our kids share a small bedroom, so there isn't many places to hide stuff. They're young, 4 and 6. We don't let them have much candy or sugary treats. A few times a week they will have some cookies or something, but not every day. So one day my wife is in there cleaning and she pulled one of their beds away from the wall to vacuum and found our eldest's daughter's stash of candy. She had all kinds there: Kit Kats, Twix, packets of potato chips. It was all unopened except for some bags of hard candy. We were both quite surprised because we keep the candy out of their reach in high cupboards in our kitchen. So how exactly did she amass such a collection of delicious contraband? Well, it turned out she would take her candy when given it by us and sometimes save it. She would never refuse a treat even if she didn't particularly want it because she might want it later, and so stashed it behind her bed in the gap against the wall. I found it quite interesting that she could have such forward thinking to know she would maybe want some candy later and needed to secure her supply now. So anyway, we let her keep the candy, but we put it in a bowl on her dresser and we explained to her she didn't need to eat it all. She could continue to keep it there for when she wants some candy. Neither of them have eaten that stash, just a few pieces. So I guess it worked out pretty good. When I was 12 and in 6th grade, I got in trouble for basically just goofing off and being poorly behaved in class at school. The teacher made me write a note to my parents telling them what I had done, and she signed it and I signed it, and I was instructed to give it to my parents. I did bring it home but realized that my parents didn't know to be looking for it, so I decided to hide it because I feared it would be found in the trash. So I unscrewed the cover of the air conditioner vent and placed the note in there, figuring in an emergency I could go back and get it if the teacher ever somehow asked about it. Fast forward like 15 years later or so, and my parents are having the air conditioning in the house replaced and also having the ducts cleaned in the process. Worker finds the now forgotten note and gives to my parents. I get a call, was living in an apartment in college at the time, that I needed to come home because we had to have a talk. Came home to serious parents who sat me down at the kitchen table to discuss the problems I'm having at school. I was beyond confused and so lost as to what they were talking about. They then bring out the now ancient note and we all had a good laugh about it. It was funny. Not snooping through his room, but stuff he was throwing out. I found my son's journal from when he was about 9. In it, he chronicles how he heard me and my then boyfriend have sex on multiple occasions. I probably died of embarrassment reading it. Bahaha, I wrote that in my journal once, complete with quotes from the whole ordeal. Really cringy things were screamed. Thin walls. I don't snoop, so I haven't stumbled across anything too crazy, but when my kids were in 3rd and 4th grade I found a shoebox, without the top, filled with actual cash and Jesus dollars when I grabbed their hamper to do laundry. Jesus dollars were something my kids' school gave out to kids for good behavior or high scores or doing anything Jesus-like. My daughter was a top student and collected a lot of Jesus dollars. They were allowed to be cashed in at the school store, but my daughter didn't see anything worth buying. My son has always been the kind of kid who could sell ice to an Eskimo, so they combined my daughter's ability to get a lot of Jesus dollars and my son's car salesman skills to sell their fake money for real money during recess. They had 44 real dollars when I found their stash. We don't pay for regular chores, so finding that much money in their closet at that age was a little weird. They admitted to it right away and thought their plan was great, but I did put an end to it because I didn't want parents to call the school complaining that my kids scammed them out of their snack money. I'm not religious, but it also seemed anti-Jesus-like to encourage it. My kids are teenagers now, but they keep their rooms clean and have been in charge of their own laundry for years, so their Jesus dollars operation remains the most shocking discovery, and I hope to keep it that way. Poopy school shorts. The child in question is 7 and didn't want to tell me because he had been too busy playing at home to go to the toilet. The toilet connected to his bedroom, so he hid his school shorts between his desk and drawers. Gross man. When my son was 13, I found the nice button-up shirt he swore he lost balled up in the back of his closet. It was covered completely in a white substance and was very stiff. I realized what it was and never said anything. Fast forward 5 years. When my son was 18, I was cleaning up his bathroom. I was cleaning out the linen cabinet and saw what looked like a can of beer on the top shelf of the cabinet. I reached up to get it and pour it out, thinking he was hiding booze from me. I wanted to get a better look, so I grabbed it and pulled it down. As I did, liquid came oozing down my arm. I thought, what the heck? Upon closer inspection, the writing on the side said pee in a can. The smell of the liquid that went down my arm made me retch, as the smell was unbearable. He had tried the half-butt attempt of washing it out, but being a young man just ran it under the sink without really washing it. I did confront my son about this find, at which point he fell down from hysterical laughter. I died a little inside that day, but I learned an important lesson. He has 2 younger brothers now going through puberty. I will not go in their room, and I always announce myself well before I ever get to their door. I make sure to be very loud going up the stairs and call for them before I ever get to the top. And that day, a lesson was learned. My mum found my contraceptive pill at one point. Never said anything about it, but I got home and she's tidied my room and left it nicely on my bedside table. Figure she was just pleased I was being sensible. My mom stacked up my pile of dirty drawings she found and put them in my binder nicely for me when I was gone visiting my dad, and she decided to clean my room. My kids' friends all hang out at my house to use my computer. Although my kids are younger, their older friend is 14. I found that he has been using my computer to look at P, which is like a big deal. His younger brothers came to tattle on him to me, and I was like, do you seriously think I didn't know? They now think I'm a computer god. My mum's worst finds were when she used to read my Facebook messages rather than go through my room. She found messages where I admitted to a friend that I was worried I might be pregnant. Read all the fights I had with my boyfriend, as I never held a relationship for very long. All the messages to my friend about feeling like I had no privacy and my friend insulting her and me not defending her. My friend still hates her. This was after I changed my password. As a child who had a very nosy parent, please just ask your kids about what is bothering them. To this day I can't have an open conversation with my mum because I don't trust her anymore. To this day I can't have an open conversation with my mum because I don't trust her anymore. So much this. I can't tell you how much I keep from my parents because of their snooping and interrogating. It's ironic. My mom had a habit of sending me to my room as a child instead of addressing my problem behavior. Depending on her mood, I could be in there for 10 minutes or 2+ hours. On one particular day I either had particularly egregious behavior or she was in a really bad mood, because I got sent to my room and waited for what felt like an eternity. I started to have to use the bathroom and asked for a reprieve, and was rebuffed. So I did what any other 8-year girl would do. I decided to empty the margarine tub that held my pushpins and pee in that. It was such a novelty that I proceeded to hoard margarine tubs and things of similar size and use them as toilets for the next few weeks. I'd close the lids and carefully stack them in my desk drawer. And then one day my mom decided to clean my room. I heard the yell from a floor away and I knew the jig was up. I was horrified and scared as a child, but as a full-grown adult I can't help giggling to myself every time I picture my mom opening that drawer and investigating what the mysterious items in the tubs were. She kinda brought that one on herself. The child of the story, but my parents have 2 houses, one main one, and a little beach place. I maintain a room in both. My fiance and I use an ammo can for storing our sex toys, rope, vibrators, lubes, etc. Last take we were at the beach house. It got left behind. This time when we went there, it was where we left it, but opened. If you don't know how to close it, and you're nervous due to the nature of what you found, it can be hard to close. So, one of my parents, assumably my mom, found the rope, vibrators, butt plugs, etc. Either that or the housekeeper was snooping, and I doubt that. I actually found some crazy stuff of my dad's when I was snooping around as a kid, including a gun. I live in the UK. Guns are most definitely illegal here. And huge plastic bag full of cash in the laundry basket. Turned out he was away on business a lot for a reason. WTF, your dad is badass, he's like James Bond. My mom found my wife and I's strap on when she was letting our dogs out to potty one day. Their kennels are in our room. All I can say is, thank God she didn't find the weed. Seems like most parents found weed or the kid was thankful they didn't. My mum was helping me pack up my house after my husband died earlier this year. I had told her I'd handle our bedroom, but she went in there anyway and opened all the drawers. She found sex toys, lots of lube, boxes of condoms from when hubby and I first started dating, all my lingerie, photos of me in said lingerie. I don't know what she expected, but maybe don't open your 30-year daughter and her husband's personal drawers. I just about had a heart attack. Thank God she didn't snoop much further because we had some coke and Valium in the back of that drawer. I'm sure she would have freaked if she found it. You'd think that after something like that, she'd have the decency to leave your most intimate room to handle by yourself. I mean, it's what I'd want if that ever happens. Sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing better. I'm not the parent, but when my aunt and her family was moving out of her house about 2 years ago, all my cousins and I had gone to help and her son found $2,000 in his old closet. I think I'm missing the messed up part here. Oh, almost forgot. On the opposite end of the spectrum, my dad asked me to take his handgun to the gunsmith for repair. It's an old German weapon from World War II. I was digging in his nightstand drawers where it was, but opened the wrong drawer first. Instead, I found their special drawer. What has been seen cannot be unseen. While at a friend's house I found his mom's dildo and gun in the same drawer. Throw away for reasons. Cleaning teenage son's room one day, using the broom to reach down and sweep under his bed. The broom clunks up against something hard in the back middle area under the bed. I'm a dust freak. Hardwood floors. So I use the broom and push the object out from under the bed so I can get all the dust. I walk over to the other side to see what in the heck it is. Before my eyes lay the absolute most massive, blackest butt dildo I have ever seen in my dang life. I said to myself, good lord, son. Enjoy, but, ouch, pushed it back under and never said a word about it. Dear God. I discovered my 12-year-old had been cutting herself, found a couple instruments that she was using to cut herself, and a blood-stained towel to dab at the blood. I hadn't been intending to snoop, found it accidentally when grabbing a shirt to check size. I confronted her, and got her into counseling. Initially, she was extremely resistant, refused to get out of the car, but eventually did go in, admitted later that it was good for her. She's almost 6 months cut-free now. I've told this story before, but a year or 2 ago I slowly started cleaning my son's room. He was 13 at the time, I believe. I wanted to see how long I could do this until he noticed his room was magically getting cleaner. I would go in his room when he wasn't home and tidy the bookshelf one day. Another day I would go through the box that had his old schoolwork, etc. I knew I was opening myself to finding something I didn't want to find, and I was relieved and amused that all I found was candy wrappers. So many candy wrappers. We should own stock in Hershey. My nosy mother doesn't snoop through our things usually, but one time she happened to snoop through my brother's bedroom. She found condoms at the time. My brother has been dating his ex for about a year. My mom assumed they obviously had sex. I know this post is about the bedroom, but my parents are always managing their refrigerators around our house. One time, my mother found a bunch of empty Mike's Hard Lemonade bottles in the basement fridge. My mom assumed it was my dad at first, and then my mom said, "This is why your dad got a DUI once. Actually, it was my brother, and my brother had to end up admitting that he himself did it." My brother left those empty alcohol bottles in the fridge because he could not sneak it to the recycling bin while my parents were sitting on the couch or doing whatever in the house. While organizing my 1-year-old's closet, an envelope with a $100 bill fell down. Seeing as we just bought the house, I'm guessing it was left over from the previous owners and that my infant does not in fact have a side hustle going on. When I left for college, I took all but 3 tote buckets of stuff with me. It's been 5 years and my mom decided to go through them. She found a fancy jewelry bag and opened it, expecting to find some jewelry I might want. She found my first vibrator. It was awkward. My parents, unknown to them, bought me my first vibrator. I was really into weird and cookie things, and she found a Mr. Potato Head massager and bought it thinking it would fit in My Aliens and odd kitsch stuff. Turns out Mr. Potato Head was excellent at massaging more than my back. My mom found my list of sexual partners. I keep a list for personal reasons and also so I know who to call just in case I get an irregular test result, but I digress. When I was 22 and lost it, mostly because she thought that was way too many partners for a woman to have, but also because there were women on that list. She'll never know that what she found was a super old and outdated list and that her daughter is, as the kids put it, a bit of a S. A responsible S. I'm pretty sure my mom found my prescriptions I had from after having an abortion, but she never said a word about it to me. I had hidden them in my laundry hamper for 2 weeks. Near the end of the pill cycle, I came home and mom said she had thrown some of my laundry into the wash. I panicked internally and ran back to my room. The pill bottles were in the hamper, still under one layer of clothes. I'm still convinced there's no way she missed it, and I think she just chose to take it to her grave. It was 12 years ago. When I was 13, I had 3 stash. 1 for booze, 1 for money and 1 for weed. My mom knew about the 3 but I had no clue. One day she confronted me with the money stash, worried that I was selling drugs or stealing stuff when all it was me stashing the weekly money she gave me. She didn't believe me, but I guess she watched it and understood what it was. Thing is, I was selling weed, just not getting much money out of it, buying half and once, sell half of that and smoke for free. She admitted to me 10 years after that she knew about the 2 other stash and watched their supply regularly, but since I wasn't abusing and the supply were just slowly going down every weekend and not on school days, she never said anything about it. Good guy, mum. Sometimes I'll let my 2-year-old eat in the living room. One day we were cleaning under the couch and found a pile of old food. Apparently when she doesn't like something she will put it under there when no one is looking. She actually has several stashes of different types of objects around the house, including 1 for toys, 1 for money screws, and 1 for just random objects. What is that first sentence? This is sort of role reversal. When I was away in college, my grandparents used to stay at my place regularly to help take care of my sick mom. My bedroom was essentially turned into a guest room for them. I didn't have anything in there that I didn't want found. That stuff was all with me at school. After my mother passed away and we were moving out, I found a very crusty towel wadded up in the back of the closet. When I shook it out, there was a silhouette of a naked man and woman, complete huge hard-on and big T, and written on the towel was for after sex. I found my grandparents' CM rag they used after fricking in my bed. One summer, I come back from college with an Altoids tin with maybe 1.5 grams of bud in it left over from whatever we bought and smoked together. I used to smoke occasionally back then, and small amounts would last me quite a while. I was at work one day when my mom texted me, "I went to take a mint from your tin, but there was something else in it." Generally, that could be an easy mistake if it was on a dresser or something, but the tin was in my backpack in my closet under a bunch of school stuff that she wouldn't care about at all. She definitely had gone through my entire backpack to see what was in there. She is totally against smoking and told me I wasn't allowed to have it in the house. She also told me she'd give it to my dad and he would be the one to take care of the situation. When I got home, my dad pulled me aside and said, I have 3 things to tell you. 1. Do not bring any pot in your mother's house. If she doesn't like it, I don't like it. 2. Don't drive or do anything stupid after smoking. Don't be a dumbass. And 3. Hide your reefer better, you idiot, as he handed me the Altoids tin. Kid here. My parents caught my older brother smoking pot in the house when I was 16 and he was 19 and they flipped out. My father went into a rage and went up into his room to find an ounce of weed, which of course they thought was enough to kill him, and a big ol' bong along with other basic paraphernalia like lighters and papers. They flipped out even harder. In the process of yelling at my brother, my father stormed into my room and shouted, if you have anything in here you best come clean right fricking now. Stupid 16-year-old me tried to act innocent and told him I had nothing, when in reality I was sitting on several grams of MDMA, several dozen hits of acid, and a couple different pot vaporizers and a crap load of pot. My father proceeded to tear apart my room as well and busted open a cheap lockbox everything in with a hammer. I was on parental house arrest for quite a while after that, as well as made to do countless chores and punishments the whole time I was home. The level of trust my parents gave me was lowered significantly for the rest of my time living at home. Kind of related. I am the child in this story. 15-year-old me charging my Juul e-cig and jerking off to make the time go by, when all of a sudden I hear 3 knocks, which I know will be followed by the door swinging open immediately after. I rip the Juul out of the charger and throw it under my covers along with my naked body. My mom starts questioning me. I heard a crinkle. What are you hiding now? I know she didn't hear anything. She must have heard some music playing on my Alexa, but she felt the need to interrogate me more. Get up and walk to the wall. You're hiding something, so it was either get sniped with my Juul, my parents are strict and it'd be fricked, or have a stop dead in your tracks embarrassing moment. I attempted to make my mom as embarrassed as possible by telling her I am watching P and to leave my room. She thought it was a cover up. She thought I made that up so that way I could hide something. Did I mention she had the nerve to rip my covers off anyways? It ended with her going on my phone and revealing, just like I promised, Pornhub. So yay. I guess that kinda fits in this category. Why does this feel like it could be satire if you added a few emojis and used a few more colloquialisms? I was the kid in that story. I had this phase where I enjoyed loud explosion sounds, and one day realized that empty milk cartons made a loud explosion sound when I stomped on them. So whenever we'd finish a carton of milk, it'd hide the milk carton in my bottom drawer. I had around 10 cartons stacked up in there when my mum found them because she kept wondering where that foul milk stench came from. It was difficult explaining to her why I collected empty milk cartons. TLDR below. For context, my mother had a huge falling out with my aunt and grandma, big enough that she cut off all contact. Even though grandma has been in and out of hospital, we aren't allowed to visit. She gets angry if we even mention them, and she made us block them on Facebook. I had been out shopping with my mum and found a pre-Arwen plaque. It was a heart with a poem on it, basically saying I love you grandma. I bought it secretly and hid it on the way home, and went to the post office alone to mail it to them. They live about 4 hours away, in Bendigo. Grandma sent back a little card saying thank you and that she loved me and she was sad about the falling out. And I sticky taped it to my bookshelf so that I would see it every now and again. The left side of my bookshelf faces the door, and the right side faces the wall of my room, where you only go to access my wardrobe. Somehow, even though she hadn't been that far into my bedroom for about 10 years, my mum found it and flipped. Huh? Crap, you'd think I had personally threatened her. She refused to speak to me for a week and my father came in and spent close to an hour yelling at me, telling me how awful grandma was and how he looked forward to pee on her grave. TLDR. Mum found a card from my grandma, who we weren't supposed to be talking to, and treated it like I had slapped her. If your mum didn't want you to send that to your grandma, she should have told you why she wasn't talking to your grandma anymore. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.